Hey guys, Red Comet here, and thanks for joining us for Health Systems Part 2. In this video, we're going to go over death and respawn and displaying the player's health on the heads-up display. Thanks for joining us. Let's get into it. Hey guys, Red Comet here, and I'm going to go through the code I added for dying and respawning a character. And then I'll explain a little bit of the HUD, maybe. So anyways, what I did here is in the take damage function, if the damage you're taking sets your health less than 0, we're going to set this new Boolean value, B is dying, to the result of this die function that I wrote. We return if it's already set to true, because we're already dying. Next, we grab the player controller and tell the server to restart that player. And then what we do is we set the health to 0 and tear off. So the way Unreal works is the player controller, or a controller in general, is the part of the game engine that is making decisions. It's kind of like the brains that are deciding what pawns or actors are going to do. And pawns are controllable, like moving characters within the level. You know, you as a player are using a player controller to puppet a pawn. And what happens is when this pawn or this character dies, instead of killing the controller and making a new controller, which would cause you to have to like reconnect to the game, all that, they take this controller, disconnect it from this dead guy, and then reconnect it to this guy over here. Now you're controlling this guy. Once I understood that, dying made more sense. So anyways, we're restarting the player controller here when this character dies, because you don't need to control him anymore. And then tear off is a built-in function to Unreal. And what that's supposed to do is that's supposed to stop the server and like network multiplayer from keeping track of information from this character. And I just included it because I saw in some other tutorials that even though we're making the single player, sometimes if you don't call this, certain things don't get set. They were kind of vague, so I just added it because we're gonna add multiplayer anyways. The next thing I do is detach from controller pending destroy. So I'm saying this character died and we're going to destroy it. So that means like, okay, it's going to fade off of the level and nothing's controlling it anymore. And that's me detaching the controller to go attach it to something else. Now, one thing that I found out is the default character isn't set up to respawn a character. So I had to modify my own custom game mode and set up a default class for the player controller. And this was actually already here as part of the game template, but we went ahead and modified this, and I'll go through that code later. So anyways, we set up our own player controller, and then we jump over to the player controller code here. And what I did is I'm overriding the unfreeze function from the player controller class, and I'm telling the server to restart the player when unfreeze is supposed to happen. So what that's doing is that's taking my controller, unfreezing it, and spawning a new character for it to control, you know. And then for this begin inactive state, I thought I was going to have to do something there, so I went ahead and included this function, but I didn't end up adding any code here. So like, you don't need it, but I just put it in because I'll probably need it later. And let me go ahead and show you how it plays out. So I'll go over how we put that HUD in the bottom corner later. But anyways, as you can see in both the output log and on the heads up display, I'm dying, boom, I died, I respawn. So death got called, and then the unfreeze function is what brought me back onto the level. And now I'm going to show you how to build the HUD. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I made the heads up display tell you what your health is in the bottom corner. So this is kind of This is kind of tough. This took a lot of research, mainly because I'm stubborn and I want to do it with C++ instead of blueprints. And then also, I don't know a clear way to get your variables from C++ to blueprints. What I did is went over here, user interface. We're going to click widget blueprint. I'm going to call this the health widget. So anyways, I'm going to go into this guy over here, drag in some text. I'm going to call this health text. And then just to kind of get like an appearance idea, you can go over here, so in the content here, I'm going to set it to, I just want it to say base, the amount of health we have. So that's 100. So as you can see here, it's a little too big, or not big enough. So let's say size to content. Now I'm going to anchor it to the bottom corner of the screen, and that's going to make it so like regardless of your player's or user's screen size, it's going to adjust properly. So the next thing I'm going to do is zero these out, because these calculate off of that anchor point. Then let's bump us 50 away, give us a little bit of a breathing room. And then let's give us some breathing room on the bottom too. Oh, that one's gotta be negative. All right, and so this is 50 pixels away from the corner and 50 pixels away. Okay, so I just showed you how we made the UMG widget that's going to actually display the health. But right now, it doesn't actually display anything, and it's actually not a part of the HUD. It's just a widget that exists. We still have to put it on there. I was gonna walk you through the code step by step, but it's like an hour and a half. So I'm just gonna run you through the gist of it really quick. First thing we did is we went to the factionshooter.build.cs. And over here in the dependencies, we went ahead and added UMG slate and slate core, because we're actually going to be writing some new UI elements. The next thing we did is we created this HUD user widget class, and this is parented to user widget. We decided to override these two native functions, and then we added our own, and then we added a pointer to the text that we're going to be updating. So the next thing we did is went into the C++ code, created the constructor and overrode it. Then we did the native construct function call, and we made a call to the parent class so that it does the same behavior that the parent class does. We did the same thing for the native tick. The main reason we added these two functions is it's possible we might have to tie into them for something else, but for health, not so much. But then I added a custom function here that just grabs the health text that's part of that UMG widget we created earlier, and it sets the text to a new string of health colon whatever the health actually is that gets passed into this function. So pretty straightforward. So next thing we did was over here in the game mode, we made sure that we have a custom HUD class, and then we looked at our HUD and added some references. So most of this stuff was already here. The main two things I added were these two, which is saying what our health widget class is, which is the HUD user widget, and then we have a pointer to the actual item that's going to end up on the HUD. So now we jump, oh, sorry, I forgot one thing. I also added an update health function here so that other classes in the game can, when they're referencing the HUD, they can just call this function. Now let's jump into the C++. So this crosshair thing was already here. What we did is we just added another part to grab the HUD user widget class or object of the class, that UMG thing we created earlier. And I just did a little console log here to make sure this is all working. The next thing we did is on begin play, we set up this HUD widget class. We make sure, first off, we make sure it's there, or sorry,
the health widget class. The HUD was my test. So with the health widget class, we make sure that we were actually able to find it. That's what we're checking here. Then here for health widget, we actually create the widget in the world. And so this is the pointer to that widget. If we were able to create one successfully, we take it and we add it to the viewport. And that's what puts it on the screen. The next thing we did, I'm gonna skip this for right now, is added our update health function, which is just basically making sure that we have a health widget, and if we have one, let's call the update health function on it, and we still take the health argument. I couldn't find a better way to do this right now. Maybe we'll refactor it later, but this draw HUD is continuously getting called, and so what we're doing here, the part we added, is to update the health, we get the character pawn that this HUD is attached to, and then if we're able to get that, we call update health on the HUD, and we pass it the result of pawn get health, which is that get health function we wrote earlier. So there's nothing wrong with this. I just don't like the fact that this is being called many times per second when your health isn't going to change that much. So I might try to refactor it later, but I don't know. Some of the professional examples I've seen online also do HUD updating here. So I don't think it's as big of a performance hit as I think it would be. And that's the code. So anyways, running through all that, one of the things we need to do now is go back into the editor, and on this health widget, we're gonna go over here and reparent this blueprint, and we want to set it to the HUD user widget that we created over there. Hit save, compile, make sure there's no errors, and now when we test this out, we'll see we have our health over here. And just to make sure that's actually updating, you can stand here and watch it trickle away. Oh, actually, I'll go back in. So one thing I did notice is because we're using a float for the health, it has all these decimal places. We can do some string manipulations to hide that later, but I'm just gonna leave it because I don't think we're actually gonna, when the health is actually done, I don't think we're gonna leave it as just a number. We'll probably let the designer do some cool stuff with it, and if they're doing like percentages or a bar or something, these decimal places might be important.
Hey guys, that'll wrap up the code for death and respawn and creating a HUD that's going to update the player whenever you take damage. In the next video for the health system, we're going to go over taking damage when other players are shooting you, and also health pickups and regen. So stay tuned for that one. If you haven't already been to the channel, check it out. And if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We'll be posting a bunch of videos on like game development, Minecraft videos. We'll probably start playing some other games too. Let us know what you want to see down in the comments. Thanks for watching.